You're listening to Cards to the Moon, a podcast about trading cards from both a collector and investor perspective. We hope you'll stick around for the ride as we take a deep dive into the state of the hobby, share some hot takes, hopefully some useful advice, and fun stories along the way. Hey guys, welcome back to Cards to the Moon. This is episode 202, and my name is Clark from 5 Card Guys on Instagram at 5cardguys.com. Co-hosting with me, as usual, is Hyung of Integrity Sports Cards. John's away this week, but to mark the best day of the year, which is of course MLB opening day, we've got 2 guest hosts with us, and we couldn't think of anyone better than to ask Chris Begg and Jason Willow, who are also podcast hosts themselves, as well as former pro baseball players. And most importantly, they are also card collectors. All right. So we've talked about their show before on our pod called the Apo Taco Podcast, where they bring their unique insights and expertise about all things baseball. So without further ado, Chris, Jason, welcome to the pod.
Thanks for having me again there, Clark. It's a three-peat.
First I was going to say.
Yeah, it's first time for Willow.
I even got a smile seeing Clark do the intro because it's weird. I listen to it every week, but seeing him actually do it is like, it feels good.
He's a seasoned vet, unlike us, Willow.
I know.
I feel like a minor celebrity. I was going to mention, Chris, this is your 3rd time on Cards to the Moon. So you're pretty much a veteran. Yeah. And Jason, I guess you are the rookie on this episode, but we know you've got great potential. That's why, you got the call up to our show, and we're expecting big things from you today, all right?
There we go.
We should probably haze him.
We could do that after the show. Yeah, it's a good idea. Okay, so because it is opening day, this episode is going to be all about baseball and, of course, baseball cards. We're going to talk about the upcoming 2024 season. We'll make some predictions, and then we'll talk about how it may or may not impact the hobby. All right, so off the top, let's do a quick Shohei Ohtani and his translator Ippei Mizuhara update. Since we last talked about the interpreter gambling controversy, we've been waiting to see if that would cause some Ohtani card holders to panic. And there was one Instagram post, I don't know if you guys saw it, but one Instagram post from Filth Bomb Breaks that showed a few collectors offloading some of their Topps Chrome non-auto rookie cards in bulk. Right, so there are some people panicking just a bit. Personally, I haven't seen any of the higher end cards going at a discount. There's some recent sales and they're all going at thousands of dollars. But anyway, the investigation which MLB has now committed to is just beginning. So with all that going on, Chris and Jason, what do you guys think of the whole situation? And would you be nervous if you had any big time Shohei cards in your collection?
Begg, you want to get going?
Well, I mean, none of my Shoheis are graded. They're all raw. And maybe they'll go back down to when I picked up the Topps Chrome rookie in 2020 off eBay for like $1 or something like that when he was kind of still unproven, no name. I think he was maybe even hurt at this time. So maybe they'll go back down to those prices and I'll be back in the game again. But I think it's going to be okay. I think Shohei is going to come out clean on the other side like Andy Dufresne in Shawshank Redemption, man. He's going to be fine. He's going to be fine. That's my gut. And I think, if you can get some now, I mean, I think it's a pretty good bet.
Yeah, I would agree. I think like the little dip we're seeing might be a time to buy. I think me and Beggar talked about this on the Apo Taco podcast. Like this is going to be a super strung out investigation, right? It's not going to happen overnight. And in my mind, I think all of our minds, like Shohei's like this like likable guy that no one wants to think bad of him. And I don't think people will until something actually in facts comes out. So again, right. He's probably going to do, the crazy things he does on the baseball field, and his prices are probably going to, rebound pretty quick. So until something's proven, I think it's going to stay pretty similar with the prices, but if you can get it, little dip, I would go for it.
I think the base cards are kind of taking the hit. I'm seeing more, and that's what we talk about a lot is when you're going numbered cards versus base cards, you could kind of hold a bit on the numbered cards, but the fluctuation of those base cards, they literally just tank. So I'm seeing a lot of like the PSA 10 chromes, PSA 9 Topps chrome. Sorry, Beggar, but those.
I was gonna say, hit me up with the links.
We got you.
I would be nervous as a high end if I had a couple high end cards. Though,
Yeah.
The story off the bat, like it's always going to be in the back of your head. Like, what if he does? What if he is guilty? And with the story being so all over the place, like just out of the gates, it's like you don't know, right? And again, you don't want to believe it till it happens, but it's kind of a funky one to start.
Agreed. But I think we're all on the same page here. If there's a dip on any of the Shohei cards, we're still all in terms of, seeing this as an opportunity to pick up a Shohei card for that discount that we've all been waiting for, which hasn't come in the last 2-3 years because he's been just mashing, and hasn't gone on any kind of prolonged slump. But
I'm thinking Major League Baseball's already come up with one Shohei Ohtani rule where, like, hey, if you pitch but you're Shohei Ohtani, you come out of the game, you can still stay in the game. So maybe they'll make another Shohei rule. It's like, hey, you can't gamble, but if you're Shohei Ohtani, double down. You're good. There'll be 2 Shohei rules in Major League Baseball now. Pete Rose is out, but Shohei, game on.
We said this on our pod. MLB needs Shohei. Shohei doesn't need MLB. So, but we'll see what happens. Because you're right. Like, it is a funky story. And, I've read somewhere that no one can believe Shohei is like the gambling type or would get into this controversy, without knowing it. But then other people said, like, the people that have known Ippei, the translator, they're like, oh, we could have never pictured him being this, gambling addict either. So you just never know. That's my point, right? So,
well, wasn't there something about like Ippei with saying that he went to like UC Riverside or some school?
He didn't actually go.
Yeah, so I think that's where you start digging, and it's just like, oh boy, where's this story going, right?
Hey, Willow, remember a few episodes ago on our podcast, I kind of speculated just randomly. I was like, is Shohei a spy? Like, is this guy like so? I was like, and now it's making sense, man. It's making sense. This guy.
Yeah, if Mike Trout didn't know he had a girlfriend and just married her, like, I bet he probably doesn't know he gambles that much money either, right?
Yeah, so. That's true.
Ooh,
he picked her up at the craps table.
Hey, serious question. Just about Shohei cards, just that I thought about. Do you think that Shohei's cards were so high in the first place that this is where it kind of like, comes back to reality, where even the high end collectors are kind of like, okay, you know what? I'm selling out now, and if the more people sell, the more it crashes, right? So I think there's an argument saying like, is the prices were they sustainable?
Like, this brings it back down to the middle ground again.
Yeah, we've seen it with everybody, right? In the hobby, even cross sports, the Mahomes, the Lucas, the whole bit, right? So maybe it's time where Ohtani prices come back to normal and kind of stay there until the dust settles, right?
It's almost just like he's doing things in the game that obviously nobody else has ever done before. And that's translating to the hobby as well, that the hobby is reacting the way it never has before either, right? So now if it, like you said, this kind of hurts his image a little bit, at least temporarily, and the hobby reflects it. So yeah, maybe it comes back to middle ground, and maybe it doesn't increase again based on like he's got this, whatever, maybe speckled history or whatever, and it doesn't get back to where it was again. Which would be good for guys like me.
Even without the whole scandal, I kind of suspect that the market would even out a bit on him just to the fact that he's not pitching either this year, right?
I was gonna say, I think good point.
Again, like you said, Beggar, he's just a freak, right? And to do as good as he does on both sides of the ball, and then this year only hit, like it might kind of bring him down. Like, hey, even if he does really well, it's not that same of him, being a stud on the mound and at the plate. So I saw it kind of leveling out a bit anyways, but with this, we'll see.
Maybe it's just going to level out a bit faster because of all the, the controversy behind this story. And I agree with you. I was thinking that exact same thing too, actually, that because he's not pitching, midway through the season, we realized, it's just batting stats, and then things will come down to earth. Mm-hmm. So it might have been a good time to pick him up this season anyway, if he had the funds. And then, next year, once he starts pitching, it might go back up, if he does this exact same thing he did last year. So we'll see how it goes.
Because pitchers matter in the hobby. That's why.
Yeah, the little value it brings.
Pitchers who can bat and hit 40 homers matter. Okay, I'll give you that. All right, so... But I'm going to say this much. Shohei Ohtani's back on my watch list. I had him off for a while because he was just so expensive. He's back on my watch list just in case the dip comes. So we'll keep a closer eye on that. All right. Let's move on now to hobby headlines. So this is why we wanted the hosts of the Apo Taco podcast on with us today, because if you haven't heard their latest episode, both Begg and Willow, they made a bunch of predictions about the upcoming season, and we'll talk about a few of them here. And then we'll also talk about any card implications it may have and whether we would buy or dump some of these players, especially the rookies and top prospects that everyone likes to collect. All right. First, let's start off with the home run category, because, there is a correlation usually between guys who can hit homers and their card values. Both chicks and collectors dig the long ball. That's what the saying goes, right? So let me ask, who you got for the AL and NL home run leaders? I know because I heard the episode, but for our Cards to the Moon listeners, Chris and Jason, let us know who you got for the AL and NL home run leaders, and then we'll talk about their rookie cards and whether it's good value.
All right, I'll get her going. AL, this is a tough one for me because my 1 and 2, I just really hate to say it, but I got Judge. Judge is my AL home run leader with, it was kind of a flip of a coin with, I think, Soto as well, right? In Yankee Stadium, short porch and right. I see him having some really good long ball numbers this year. And then NL-wise, I got Matt Olson, so a guy who I think underrated still. Like last year, the numbers he put up, I still think people should have been talking about him more.
54 homers last year.
Yeah. And still people talked about him, but not to the extent of what his numbers actually said. So a guy I think is always a little bit underrated.
Agreed. All right. Good choice.
I did, oddly enough, Willow and we didn't even collaborate beforehand. I had Judge winning too, and I had Soto as a secondary pick as well, only because, well, one, we were talking about it kind of before the recording here. Yankee Stadium, right field. And just Soto just fits so perfectly as a Yankee, as like Will was saying, he's I hate to say it, but it works. He just is dominating there. But I will say this.
Yeah.
Back on the Mike Trout train, he was the first one to hit a home run this year in the season game. So I might be back on the Trout. If he can stay healthy, he might put up, 40 plus again.
He hit a bomb today.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah,
and then my thing's if Judge doesn't stay healthy, that could be the equalizer, right?
Right.
And my dark horse I'll throw in here is Jordan Alvarez.
Okay.
Jordan Alvarez.
I think he's going to go nuts this year.
I'm a huge Alvarez fan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Young's a huge Alvarez fan. Yeah, for sure. We did talk about Soto and Judge on our podcast before, in that we think Judge is probably slightly underrated play because all the attention's on Soto this year. Him coming to the Bronx, him playing for the Yankees. You guys already mentioned it, the short right field porch, just being that beneficial to lefties. And I've got Juan Soto as well for those reasons. I just don't believe that Judge is going to be healthy all season. That's, you see how he swings. And I would bet money that he doesn't play the full, over under 140. What would you give it? I'll go under this year. And the Yankees are
under. I'm hoping so.
I've gotten.
We should all be hoping. We're Jays fans. Come on.
Yeah.
As Jays fans,
I'm under that. They're going to give him days off anyway.
I'm actually going to go opposite. I think Judge is going to actually have pitches to hit. I think Soto draws a lot of walks. And the reason why I don't have Soto on my list is because the majority of his home runs are to the gaps and oppo, actually. He rarely hits pull side home runs. And yeah, it might be maybe 3 to 4 home runs or maybe a little more than that. But he's a 30 to 35 home run guy. And I still think Judge is going to be a 40-plus guy. And I think Guerrero's going to, Vladdy's going to, surprise some people this year. I think his adjustments that he's made, I know what he's talking about from a hitting standpoint. I watched this thing on Vladdy talking about hitting and how he made minor adjustments with his hand and his load and his coil, which is huge for a hitter. Like, I mean, when it clicks and you understand something that you were doing before and then you went out and you didn't realize what you're doing, and then you figure out that kind of issue. And I think that's where Vladdy's at. So I'm expecting him potentially to hit 40 plus. I think he has a lot on the line in terms of, all his peers, Acuna, all the young studs are, holding their own, and it's now Vladdy's turn to kind of pop in there. But I'm still going to go Judge, for the AL. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of card value, the better value seems to be in Judge right now because he's kind of, since the 60-plus home run season, everything's kind of sizzled down a little bit. And Juan Soto has just been creeping upwards during the offseason. Everyone's anticipating him doing well. So, like, I wanted to pick up a Juan Soto, but now it's just like, it's not good value anymore. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking somewhere else.
I think Vladdy has good value right now, too. And I think I think he's got a chance to get back up to the numbers that his cards used to be at. And even though he hit that 450 dead center nuke today, I think it's still a buy.
Yeah.
Shot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I sold my Vladdy out in the offseason. So, but I know for a fact that Hyung has a nice blue refractor auto of Vladdy. So he definitely wants Vladdy to do well this year.
Absolutely.
But I said this on the pod too, right? Like Vladdy, he hit that monster home run as we're recording this. It's day one, so he hit that first home run dead center. But then he also hits like these monster shots. You're like, oh, it's gone, and it always falls on the warning track. The last at bat.
Yeah.
I'm like, for some reason, Vladdy has a lot of those kind of hits where it's like just shy. So I don't know what that's about, but yeah, Vladdy's a good pick. I also chose Mike Trout. I know, Beggar, you mentioned that. I think if he stays healthy, I have a Mike Trout booming chrome, so I'm like, please stay healthy for one full season, okay? Mm-hmm. So I can, maybe flip. But if he's healthy, he's got a shot for sure. Just quickly from the NL side, you guys mentioned Matt Olson. We talked about this last year too. Like, he's doing everything, but there's just no hobby love for Matt Olson. No one cares about Matt Olson for whatever reason, right? Like, it's still dirt cheap for what he's done in terms of his first Bowman Chrome autos.
Yeah, I think Pete Alonso falls into that category too. I would say Pete Alonso would be up there in terms of Matt Olson and Alonso. I think 1 and 2 in the National League for home runs. Pete Alonso has been so consistent too. But yeah, Matt Olson's actually, becoming kind of, I think, relevant. So I think there is a play on both, to be honest, because they're going to hit, at their pace, they're going to hit 500.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And we'll talk about milestone markers afterwards. But yeah, great point. Let's move on now to the AL NL MVP picks. Back to Beggar and Willow. Who do you got?
Beggar, you get us going.
All right. Man, this is going to sound boring again here. But the AL, I got Soto on this one. I think he's just going to be, and it was funny when you were just talking there, Joe. I looked at the lineup today, and not that it can't change, but Soto's hitting ahead of Judge. At least he did today. Soto's hitting 2, Judge was hitting 3, Stan's hitting 4, which to me means Soto's going to get more pitches to hit, and they're going to pitch around Judge, not really too worried about Stanton, right? Mm-hmm. So Soto, I think, is just going to be stupid. So there's my that's my AL pick. I mean, I got dark horses and everything in there. My NL pick, you got to beat the best guy in the game right now, I think, and that's Acuna. I think he's gonna go back to back on it. So I think there's some dark horses there, some other good picks, quality picks, but I have zero reason to think that Acuna is going to tail off at all this year.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'll pick up in the NL just to make it easy, but I'm right there with Beggar with Acuna. It's tough not to just think he's going to win it, right? You watch him play, and for me, he's by far the best player to watch in the league. Like he does, everything. It's not just like he's a guy who only hits home run. It's like how many bags did he end up with last year, right? Just a plus defender too. So a guy, if he stays healthy, I don't see how he doesn't win it. And then AL wise, again, You wouldn't believe me and Begg are Jays fans, but I went with Judge here. Again,
guys, we're the worst Jays fans ever.
We are the worst Jays fans ever. But I think kind of the same thing that Bagger was talking about. I think with those two in the lineup, it's going to help each of them, right? With, probably get more pitches hit because you can't just get around one. So, yeah, I think if he stays healthy too, I think that's my pick. But again, Trout was someone I had my eye on too, and the degenerate gambler I am at plus 2,000 for Trout MVP.
Oh, that's pretty good.
It's pretty good value.
Yeah,
pretty good value.
I like those odds. Yeah, me too.
Yeah, like this is gonna be boring, Clark, but I think Soto is gonna win the MVP just based on like the amount of walks he draws, the amount of runs he scores. And you can't go wrong with either, I think, but I think Soto's just gonna put up ridiculous offensive numbers, 1,000+ OPS this year. And then on the flip side, Acuna is the favorite. I don't see how you could, see how he can't defend that MVP if he stays healthy, because he hit 40+ and 70 bags and hit 330. That's ridiculous. Right.
It's video game numbers.
Yeah, it's video game numbers. It's like a true MVP season, one of the greatest offensive seasons in, I would say, modern history. And then you got, and people might flame me for this, but I think Tatis has a lot to prove. I just believe in his talent. I'm telling you, from a baseball standpoint, talent-wise, he has to be one of the most exciting players, other than last name Acuna, in the game, right? So it's between, Soto, Tatis, Acuna, Vladdy. Those four always excited me. And Vogelbach, yeah.
There's our Jays fan. Well, I picked up for it.
Yeah. Pick up that rookie card.
Or a birthday cake.
Well, you know what? I'm going to be the only true Jays fan here on this podcast, I guess, because I just think the Yankees are just really overrated, guys. Like, it's, a lot of if statements here when you guys are making your picks. A lot of, if they stay healthy, and I don't think Judge is going to stay healthy. I already said that. Stanton definitely is not going to be healthy. No. So you're just going to have Juan Soto on the 2 spot. Okay, then who do you got, right? And then, it changes. Everything changes a little bit. Juan Soto's still going to hit, but he's not going to maybe get the RBI numbers or the runs that you're hoping for, right? And so I picked a team that I think is it's my dark horse pick, but I just think there's no attention to these guys, or as much as there should be. And the Seattle Mariners, I think they're going to go far this year. And my pick for AL MVP is J-Rod. I think Julio Rodriguez is going to have a monster year. He's, what, is this his third or fourth? And every year he's gotten better. He's just, the trend is going in the right direction.
Yeah,
so
he's the real
I'm going
deal.
J-Rod. And then for NL, this is a guy that gets no hobby love, but he's Mr. Consistency. The only reason why I don't think Acuna is going to get it is because of the health factor too. Like, he had a monster year because he stayed healthy, right? And a lot of ifs, he's got to stay healthy again, back-to-back seasons. I'm not sure he's going to have that kind of historic season this year like he did last year. He'll probably, it's even for him, that's not easy to repeat, right? So, but I'm going to go with a guy that just keeps putting up numbers year after year. No hobby love. His name's Mookie Betts from the Los Angeles Dodgers. I think he's going to get his MVP again this year. Dodgers probably the favorites to win the World Series, right? They got to be. And Mookie Betts is going to be a big part of that. So the only reason why I'm not going to get a Mookie Betts rookie card, if you listen to this podcast, I got the first Bowman Chrome auto back in the day, BGS 9.5, for like $30-$40. And I sold it for $60-$70. I made a 2x profit. It's going for about $1,400-$1,500 now. So I cannot buy it back in, knowing that I sold way too early. Unless I could get a nice color parallel, then I might go back in on Mookie Betts. But yeah, for what he's done and accomplished in his career, he's
crazy,
so cheap. Yeah, J-Rod on the other hand, he's pretty expensive. Just to let you know. So I'm probably not going to get any of his cards now.
Do you want me to throw a counter argument to your Mookie?
Let's hear it.
I think his WAR is going to be down a little bit this year because I don't think he's going to do himself any favors at shortstop. He already committed his first error today, throwing error, and I don't think it's going to be as easy for him as the baseball people are going to make you try to believe. So I think eventually they might have to look for another option at the shortstop position. But until then, he's not going to get that defensive WAR, which could hurt his MVP numbers. But if that does happen, even a better buy because he won't be quite as valuable.
I like that. Yeah, something to think about.
I second that too. And Young, you probably think the same. I think we talked about it on our podcast, Bagger, but I said, like, shortstop's a different beast than second base.
Yeah.
Right? Like, there's a reason that it's so tough to make it to the bigs as a shortstop.
Tatis is a perfect example, too.
Exactly.
And he's a platinum glove. Tatis was a platinum glove outfielder his first year out there. Yeah. But he wasn't a great shortstop.
Yeah.
And now you're going the other way from a gold glove outfielder and be like, hey, you're such a good athlete. You can play shortstop. It's not that easy. It's like
not in his prime either.
Yeah. He can't pitch either. He's not that good of an athlete. Let's be serious here.
Oh, man. All right. We talked about Judge Soto already with the home run category, so we don't have to talk about their card value. So let's go on just briefly because, we got Chris Begg on the show. He used to be a pitcher. And we got to talk about our Cy Young picks. I know in the hobby, no one loves collecting pitchers because, the value isn't, the value's there, but in terms of making a nice profit from pitchers, it's limited in the number of choices you have. But let's talk about Cy Young anyway. Who do you guys got for AL, NL picks?
All right, I'll start out. My pick this year pitched today, and he dealt. Baltimore Orioles, Corbin Burns. He didn't have a great spring, but I wasn't too worried about that. Spring means absolutely nothing for pitchers, especially other than get your innings in, get your pitch count up, and come out of it healthy, which he did. He had 6 innings today, 11 punch-outs with 1 hit. It's the first time since 1934 that a pitcher has opened the season with 10 or more punch-outs and less than 2 hits. So it's pretty unbelievable start to the year.
Impressive.
Pretty impressive. And so that's my pick. I like him. But if I had a second pick, I would pick the Seattle Mariners. And you can take a coin toss with whoever you like. Luis Castillo, love him. George Kirby, amazing. Logan Gilbert, it's stupid. And then if you want one more, I'll give you Framber Valdez. There's my dark horse. Really like Framber.
All right. That's enough about pitchers, but yeah. Go ahead.
Do you want the NL, or do you want me to do NL, or do you want to just
go NL. Go NL before Willow chooses.
Spencer Strider.
Yes. It's easy pick.
Lock it in.
Easy. Yes.
Lock it in. There's some good secondary ones, but he's the guy.
Strider's the guy, yeah. Willow.
Yeah, NL, I got Strider too. He added that nasty curveball he's got now this offseason.
That's a big pitch.
Yeah, which, he was already, untouchable, and then you add this in that's just been getting crazy swing and miss numbers. So, yeah, I don't even see it being close if he just keeps doing what he's going to do. AL, I was Luis Castillo until I saw Kevin Gausman's last spring start the other day, and that changed my mind because he just looked dominant. Again, Gausman, a guy that I get to watch a lot, watching the Jays so much, and I don't know, it's kind of always been there, and I think this is the year for him. So that's a little biased being a Jays fan, but that's my pick in the AL.
Definitely cheap rookies.
I'm going with Corbin Burns, like with Beggar. I just think him with Milwaukee, he got shafted a few times, and I think with this Baltimore offense and this Baltimore team, he's going to be probably 20-game winner, and he's going to put up some numbers. He puts up numbers every year, and you could tell when a pitcher is like a dominating pitcher where they literally dominate, and that's Corbin Burns. And I'll say there's Tariq Skubal, who is a dark horse that is going to have a career year this year. He had a good day today too, actually, for Detroit. Pitched 6 innings, no runs. So I think he's going to probably be a candidate as well. And then, yeah, Strider's my favorite. I was going to mention what Willow said. As a hitter, man, like that extra, curveball, putting that in the arsenal, it just puts another dimension in the hitter's mind that, one more pitch you have to worry about Spencer Strider. And I think he's just going to, and with the Atlanta Braves offense, it's ridiculous. That combination, I think you're going to really get some numbers out of Spencer Strider this year.
So it's a Strider sweep for sure on the NL side. And I had Luis Castillo as well because I just mentioned I'm big on Seattle this year in terms of them making it far. But really, out of pitchers in terms of the hobby and its implications, we're just looking at Spencer Strider, right? Like, is he, like, let me ask you guys, would you pick up a Spencer Strider rookie card?
I think I would.
I
think he's
okay.
if he stays consistent
they're
over
collectors.
the next couple of years. Yeah, it's gotta be paper though, huh, Beggar?
Yeah, it has to be paper, raw. Maybe a Topps Big League, something like that. Like we'll get it on those.
No, I think he's gonna put up numbers. I mean, if he stays consistent like he is, like he has the possibility to put up some really serious career numbers. So I would say so. I know pitchers are always undervalued, but
yeah, okay.
I'll give you something,
Hyung.
Cho, on yours, Hyung, on yours, your pick with Scooble. This is interesting. I brought it up on ours. I looked randomly the last 14 years of Cy Young, so 28 Cy Young awards, and one in each league. It was either 3 or maybe 4 at the most, came from losing teams. So if you think, I mean, for me, Detroit's not going to have a 500 or better record, right? And same thing, Cole Raggins was another.
They were
one,
my
the
pick
Royals.
to win the Central, but no biggie.
Yeah, it's why. I mean, it's a lock. Your gambling addiction is going to come in hard right now. You'll have to double down somewhere else. But so only 3 or 4 of the last 28 Cy Young Award winners came from losing teams. So that's why it's like Corbin Burns on that. Like I see him with 100 plus wins. Yeah. I think that's probably as good of a choice as any.
Makes sense.
Yeah, you know what's funny? Before we go on, when I was listening to your podcast, the Apple Taco podcast, and then when Willow picked the Detroit Tigers, I'm like, are you kidding me? The Detroit Tigers?
You guys think I'm crazy, but you just wait.
People are in on them. Like they got a lot of people.
I don't mind that. I don't mind that.
But under the Twins.
Yeah, it's still it's under the radar.
I was gonna say the correct answer is the Minnesota Twins, but I guess we'll find out.
Well, that Central's so weak anyways.
Central, anybody can take it.
Couple pieces,
you never know. Yeah,
that's why I picked the Guardians, man.
Yeah,
that's true.
It could go Cleveland too. Yeah.
Anyway, Hyung, are you picking up Strider?
I actually sold Strider. I pulled the Strider, and his prices were pretty decent for what they were going. So yeah, I wouldn't necessarily, I would say, invest in Strider. I would keep stuff for PC because I think he's going to be one of the best pitchers, in our generation. So, and the guy looks like just like a cartoon character out there with his legs, right? Like it's just ridiculous. But yeah,
those thighs and the mustache.
Yeah, the stash. I was going to say the stash. Yeah. I was just trying to make a point. Like I love Strider as a pitcher, but I'm still not going to collect him.
He's a pitcher.
Pitchers, You
guys rip all your boxes, keep all the base, and hand them my way. We're good.
We'll donate to Beggar. All right.
The Beggar Fund.
Okay, let's move on to the top rookies and prospects we expect to make an impact this year, and we'll see if any of us would invest in them by buying their rookie cards at their current values, because definitely some of them are pretty expensive already. We'll use the MLB top 100 list. And we're not going to go through top 100, but we'll go through the top 5 or 6. And we'll start with rank number 5. Wyatt Langford of the Texas Rangers. If you are in the hobby, he is the guy right now. Like anyone pulling Wyatt Langford's listing it, and it's going for thousands of dollars. So the hype is already there before even playing. Well, I guess I'm not sure if the Rangers already played, but we know he got. Did he play? Okay, so we know he's going to start with the team in game 1. So Wyatt Langford, what do you guys think of him?
I talked about this in our kind of season preview episode. Like I am huge on Wyatt Langford. I think he's going to have such an impact. What amazes me how mature he is at the plate for a rookie. Like you just watch him, especially through the spring. Like he looks like a vet almost at the dish with his approach, and he's got power to all fields. And but that being said, his prices right now, it's tough. How much it is going for. I would personally buy because I have a ton of faith in him. I think he's going to be an absolute superstar with what he showed. But yeah, it's risky call there with how much his stuff's going for right now.
It's funny. Willow and I both had Wyatt Langford as our Rookie of the Year picks, and I was able to watch his first at bat today. And you talk about this incredible approach, and he threw that out the window. His first at bat, he watched 6 pitches, 4 of them were strikes, 1 didn't get called a strike, and the last one for a punch out was like had a very, very good portion of the plate, and he just watched it. It was like, okay, that we'll chalk that one up as nerves. I don't know, but it did not look good. And I was like, right. I'm out. No. His second one, he did have a sack. Yeah, I'm out. He had it's like after the Jays game today, leadoff home run. I was like, the Jays suck. I'm done.
Me and Begg were texting each other right away.
But his second at bat, he did have a sack fly. I didn't see it. I just saw the box score. So that's all I know.
Yeah,
but
I love it.
Yeah, I love Wyatt Langford. I think he's going to be a stud.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think his prices are really high. There's a lot of hype around him, which is the issue. But you guys hit it on the nail. The type of hitter Wyatt Langford is and his maturity in terms of his approach is what excites me most about him. Kind of like Soto. When you look at hitters, they're not like pull-off hitters, hit home runs, and they strike out 150 times. It's like Wyatt Langford actually has that old school approach. He goes the other way. Very mature hitter. He's going to be a 300 hitter, in my opinion, in the big leagues. And he's going to hit home runs. But my thing is, he's still young. He played A-ball last year as a 21-year-old. He's going from collegiate level pitching to pro pitching. And he kind of flew by the minor league system because, obviously, MLB pitching is a little different than minor league pitching at the end of the day. So I think he's going to get exposed a bit from the get-go. So I think it's going to take him some time to figure out big league pitching. And as he gets more scouting reports on him, they're going to start, doing other things that he hasn't seen before. So it's going to be interesting. But I think his card prices are so high that, you kind of expect failure. Just like Volpe last year, Bobby Witt his first year, Julio Rodriguez when he kind of came into the scene. It's a slower start. They adjust to big league pitching, and I think he's going to be there. But I believe in his ability. Yeah, exciting player to watch, and I think he's going to hit.
Yeah, I'm not going to add much more to that because I'm saving Wyatt Langford for one of my hobby hot takes segment, which is coming right after this one. Yeah, I agree with you in terms of the hobby. It might not be so much a hot take anymore after what Hyung mentioned, but yeah, his cards prices are pretty high. So yeah, I'm staying off of Wyatt, but I don't doubt the talent either. All right, let's go number 4. His teammate Evan Carter. He was obviously a big factor in the playoffs last year. Contributed plenty during their World Series run. So Evan Carter, what do you guys think?
I think Evan Carter's great. A guy who, he was a prospect coming up, but I don't think people thought that he would have had the impact that he did for the Rangers last year when he came up late in the year. Card wise, I think he's right now a buy because I think a lot of the spotlight's on Langford, right? And you got to remember, Evan Carter put up crazy numbers last year when he was up, right? And again, I think these two are going to be, really good combo for the Rangers, but again, he could put up better, he's probably going to put up better numbers than Wyatt Langford, but yeah, I would say a buy. I think he's kind of out of the spotlight right now with everyone going nuts on Wyatt Langford, so if you could, I'd buy some of that up.
Evan Carter, the third youngest player in the league right now, so here's a comparison. You tell me if you think it's legit or not. I'm just kind of thinking of it as I go. He's a guy, like you kind of say, he flies under the radar a little bit, super young, almost kind of like at least flying under the radar to me, like a Kyle Tucker.
Yeah.
Great.
I like that.
Flies under the radar, but I think he's going to, he hit over 300 last year. He had 19 bombs in, what do you have? 5 bombs and 62 at bats or whatever. I think he's going to hit. I think he's going to do really well. To me, that's a better buy than Wyatt Langford right now. I don't think Langford's a buy.
For me, Carter's interesting. I think he's going to be a solid player. I don't think he's going to be Kyle Tucker in terms of the pop, the power. I think he's maybe, 20 home run guy if, everything clicks. So I don't know how that's going to react in the hobby. And he did already have his rookie card come out, and kind of like the hype is already kind of like off of him. And like you guys were saying, Wyatt Langford has kind of like the spotlight, especially because Wyatt Langford doesn't have a rookie card yet, but that's why his first Bowman Chrome is crazy. But Evan Carter went through that phase a bit where his first Bowman was kind of like popping off and then kind of fizzled down. His rookie cards came out. But yeah, I'm off of Evan Carter right now as well. I think he's going to be a great player, but in terms of hobby price, I'm kind of staying off of him.
Same. I think the ceiling for Evan Carter is like he hit it during the playoff run last year, to tell you the truth. And I love that Kyle Tucker comp. Like, I was just a huge Kyle Tucker fan when he came into the league. I thought, oh, this guy is underrated for what he's doing. But he's one of the, we talk about hobby logic on our show all the time. Things in the hobby that just don't make sense, and Kyle Tucker fits in one of those categories because, he's plays for a great team. He hits every year. And he's consistent. And I looked at his first Bowman Chrome rookie auto. It came out in 2015. And you could get a base one for $163, BGS 9.5. So that's in Beggar's budget,
graded,
right? So
except
sorry,
for
it's
the whole
graded.
grading thing.
So you can get it for under 100 raw, right? So even better for you. But if Tucker is like, what you hope Carter will be, I mean, in terms of the trend, in terms of hobby prices, it doesn't look great. So Carter's just one of those guys that maybe just PC. All right, we'll go top three now. Junior Caminero from the Tampa Bay Rays. He's not playing for the big club to start the season, but I'm sure he'll get called up soon enough. So what do you think about Caminero?
I'll go with Caminero. I like Caminero. I don't know if he's going to hit enough to become a superstar. Like in the Tatis Acuna kind of, like I see Jackson Chourio there, and Caminero has been raking at every single level. So it's going to be his to kind of, like, I mean, if he keeps on continuing in the big leagues like that, but like we talked about with Wyatt Langford, it's like big league pitching is different. We'll see how he responds. He's not the most popular player, even in prospecting. He's a top, 5 prospect, but in terms of his hobby love, I don't think he gets that same love as like a Jackson Holiday or a Jackson Chourio, that type of prospect. So I'm off of Caminero. I was on Caminero before he kind of made his way through the minors, but then now that he's kind of at that, stage where he's probably going to start in AAA and, get another call. But, he hit 235, I believe, in his debut last year, and obviously he's still young, but yeah, I just don't want to necessarily dump money into him right now.
Well, I'm right there with you. I think he does have. I think he's got 70 grade power, so like that's always there, right? And if he does come up and he's a guy who 35, 40 plus a year, like the value's going to be there. But I kind of agree with Cho. I think he might have some troubles, but again, it's early. I think he's got possibility to, but if I had to bet on it, I would say no.
Okay.
I'll give you an argument for the other way. First and foremost, I have a hard time betting against somebody who's done it their whole career. And so far in the minor leagues, all he's done is hit, 324 last year in the minor leagues, 314 the year before. He had 31 home runs last year in under 500 at-bats. So I have a hard time betting against that. The other thing is, right now, there used to be a guy, he's playing shortstop and third, I think. There used to be a guy who was blocking him at short in Tampa. There isn't anymore. So, that's wide open. They kind of had like a stopgap guy right now, but it's like when that position, when Caminero's ready, that position's going to be his for the taking, and he's going to get every chance to take it, right? So, as long as he doesn't, absolutely suck, which he's done it so far, so I don't have any reason to bet against him. And like I said, he didn't make an opening day roster, so he's off people's radars right now. So it might be a good time to pick him up while he's a little bit cold. And then when he gets a call up, and hopefully he does well we say that again as Jays fans. Hopefully he sucks, so the Rays suck. And but if he does do well, then you might have a good investment.
Yeah. I mean, the value is certainly there. I just looking at his prices, his PSA 10 first Bowman Chrome, which is 2023 autograph, just sold March 19th, so just last week, for $338. It used to go for a lot more when he was first called up last season. So it's definitely dropped. So it's a good time to pick him up if you believe him as a player. And out of the three that we mentioned, I think he has the best value with the higher upside in terms of a short-term flip, right? Like if you're looking to make a short-term flip, it's at the bottom right now, I think. And he still has the potential to do well when he does get called up. And I like that, what you mentioned, Chris, that, that when he came up late last year, like there's always this adjustment. And I like guys who go through that adjustment period early or have gone through it. And then when they get called up again, hopefully, they are better prepared. And then you see them hit like they did, in the minors and just coming up the system. So I think Caminero has that ability. And like you mentioned, there's a spot for him when he gets called up at the shortstop position. So nothing to worry about there. All right, here we go. I said top 5 or 6 because there is only one pitcher in the top 5, 6. And, I'm like, should we talk about pitchers still? Should we? And Beggar's looking at me like, yeah, we should. Paul Skeens. Is that how you say his last name? He deserves it. Paul Skeens.
Yeah.
Skeens, yeah.
He is number 3 on the list for the Pittsburgh Pirates, right? The Pirates organization.
Yeah, they still have a team. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Beggar, you tell us, what do you think of Skeens as a pitching prospect?
I've only watched him a little bit, seen some highlights, and then I watched his outing in that spring breakout game, and he legit looked like a polished big leaguer. He attacks hitters. He's got that, fastball at 100 to 102 miles an hour. He's got a really good slider, and then his changeup is like his third pitch, and it's filthy. So, again, he's a big body guy that I don't necessarily, every pitcher's at risk of getting hurt, as we're seeing daily almost. But as far as, I guess, risk aversion, he might be your least risky of like body types of a guy that might get hurt. So, and again, Pittsburgh, it's not a matter of if he's going to get called up, it's when, and I think it's going to be sooner rather than later, especially because we talked about like the NL Central sucks. So if Pittsburgh feels like there's a chance that they might win it or at least get in there for a playoff picture, they can't wait on a guy like this. They can't wait until next year or wait until July. It'll be an early call-up, I think, once he gets a couple innings, and then they can probably May 1st comes around where they can control him for another year. Like, I think he's going to be up there soon, and he might be a dark horse for your rookie of the year.
Oh, interesting. All right. Anyone else have anything to add for Paul Skeens?
I think he's super exciting, and I think that's like a big value in him. I do worry a bit about the fastball. Just, again, in college, 100 plays a lot better than it does in professional baseball, especially when you make to the big leagues, right? You got at least one guy in every bullpen throwing 100 nowadays. So I don't know if that plays as much, but again, a guy who is exciting to watch. And I think that's like a big part, at least for some card value. Like, everyone wants to see Paul Skeens throw 100. It's like DeGrom, right? It's like, it's so entertaining to see a guy who's sitting 100 as a starter who just makes people look stupid. So I don't know. I'm excited to see what he does. I'm kind of rooting for him, but we'll see.
You're rooting for him because you want to see his girlfriend on TV a little bit more. The TMZ report that we get from Willow every week.
Jeez. So if the girlfriend doesn't listen to this pod.
Big 5-card guys fan.
Yeah. With Paul Skeens, there's no doubt that he's going to become, an all-star. Like, I think everything's in the works there, and you kind of think that he's kind of like the biggest arm coming up. But you look at Spencer Strider prices in terms of the hobby, you know, is it the right time to buy him now? Probably not. There's enormous amounts of hype, even in his Bowman draft card as well. So I think the talent, definitely it's going to play. But in terms of hobby price, it's the pitcher. It's the pitchers, right? It just won't get the love that it deserves, rightfully. But yeah, it's I think he's going to be a dude, period. But his prices, not so much.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the hobby is that for pitchers, you have to prove yourself to have an amazing career. You know what I mean? Like if your name's not Clayton Kershaw, Justin Verlander, Nolan Ryan, like these guys have, you know, it's like the longevity of the career also counts for pitchers, you know, and that's the reality of investing in pitchers within the hobby. But I mean, I'm looking at Paul Skeens, like a lot of them aren't graded because it's relatively new. So this might be for you, Beggar. But his raw first Bowman Chrome card just sold for $155. So, you know, it's not too bad.
Here we go.
All right. Okay. The last two, obviously we know who they are. They both have the same first names. We'll talk about them together. Jackson Churio's number 2, Jackson Holliday's number 1 from Milwaukee Brewers and Baltimore Orioles, respectively. Out of the two, who do you like better? And which card would you, I guess it would kind of answer the second question, which rookie card would you want if you had to choose one of those guys?
Oh, I'm going to defer on this one to start. That's a tough one.
That is a really tough one.
All right.
John, why don't you go? Because we have
both.
talked about it on our show before.
I was saying Jackson Holliday as a rookie of the year potential. Just adding to that Baltimore lineup, I really like that mix. And you won't find a cleaner swing than Jackson Holliday's. Like, and why that matters is his barrel stays through that strike zone. He's going to barrel a lot of baseballs in his career. And his dad obviously being, a legend himself. So I think that I like over the Jackson Churio. But I do like Churio. You know, I always talk about him on this podcast. I think Churio is kind of like the next closest thing to Acuna, minus the defense, I would say. It's tough because Jackson Holliday, that is a guy that I think, could potentially actually help the Baltimore Orioles this year, go deep.
Yeah, I agree there. I'd probably go Jackson Holliday. I think he's just, he's hit at every level he's been at. He's, proven himself. Like Cho said, his swing, again, for how young he is, with how smooth his swing is, it's just, again, a mature, I mean, you have a dad like that, I'm sure you're probably going to be pretty mature, run around the clubhouse as a kid and all that, but I'm super excited to see. I mean, he might turn into one of my favorite players once he comes up, even though he's an AL East guy who isn't on the Jays, but
we're the worst fans.
We are the worst fans ever, yeah.
It's unbiased podcast today. We gotta show love to our American fans too,
But then right there with Cho too, Churio, I think if anyone can fill kind of Acuna's shoes of being that guy to do it all, he's the guy. Will he do that? Who knows? Again, defensively, I think he's lacking a bit. I think he's got a little bit of a Puslinger of an arm. So I don't know if that, changes much in the hobby price, but I mean, both guys who's just so excited to see how their careers, pan out.
Sure.
Yeah, I think it'll be a sweep for me. And it's just, I mean, the other thing too is like they both play premium positions, right? Jackson Holliday shortstop. I mean, maybe he moves away from there in big leagues, but Jackson Churio center fielder. They're both fast. They both can swing it. I mean, as a team, I like the Orioles more, so maybe that helps Jackson Holliday a little bit. He might get more playoff runs or anything or something like that over the next few years. I don't know, but at the same point, I really like the Brewers too. They got like a really good young core, like a young organization, minor leaguers and stuff coming up. So it's really tough for me. It's a push. I'm probably gonna go with whichever raw cards are cheaper.
Yeah, I mean, you can't argue the talent for both Jacksons, but this is what I want to ask you guys. So in terms of cards, and it's not raw, okay, but if we pick the PSA 10 as the kind of the standard, if I told you that Jackson Holliday's PSA 10 first Bowman Chromata went for twice as much as Jackson Churrio's, which one are you going for? 1,300 to 650.
Are we going to pick one already?
Yeah.
You know what? We've done this as a pick one on the pod before.
We did. Yeah.
So I want to ask Beggar and Willow what they would pick, and then we'll tell you what we picked if you hadn't heard the episode yet.
Willow, you want it?
I'll say this: I think buying Jackson Holliday as of today, you're gonna get a spike when he gets called up, anyways. I think once that hype goes and he gets that actual call up to the bigs, I think there's gonna be a spike in prices again. But then you see it all the time, right? Guys who get to the big leagues and tough couple first months, and that might hurt some prices. So honestly, off price, I'd probably go Churio. But again, I think it's tough. Holiday might be a grail PC forever, but we'll see. Beggar, what do you got?
Okay.
I was gonna actually say Churio as well at the price difference, only because at best, and you guys know this, prospecting and figuring out who's going to actually be a superstar or a star or not is a crapshoot anyway.
Yeah.
So if it's 1A and 1B, I'm going to go with the cheaper one. That discrepancy, I'm going to go with the cheaper card because there's really just as likely that he's going to hit in like as a superstar as Jackson Holliday.
Great points, and
yeah,
I don't think
like
we need to.
I think the price is the kicker for sure. So. Yeah, Churio, sweep.
Churio,
good
sweep.
thing we're all so decisive.
We're just giving good advice. You got to go for Churio if it's half the price. So there you go. Jackson Churio sweep in terms of cards, but in terms of player, Jackson Holliday sweep. So I think that's the way we decided for this episode. All right. Before we close off the segment, just quickly, there are some milestone markers that some of these players are most likely going to hit. I'm going to tell you a few of them, and you tell me if you think it's going to impact their card prices. If they do hit those markers, if there's just going to be a bump. All right. So let's start with home runs. Aaron Judge, he just needs to hit 43 more homers, and he reaches this 300 home run club. You think there's going to be a spike if he does achieve that?
I'll go. I'm going to say no because I don't think 300 is enough of a milestone. It's not significant enough.
Yeah,
it's nothing these days. I don't want to say nothing. It's still 300 home runs, but it's not, and especially for him because that's not where he's going to peak.
I think Giancarlo Stanton is surpassed that already.
Stan, I think, has like 435 or something like that. Yeah,
he's going to hit 500 and he gets no hobby love.
Yeah, he could. There's possible there, right? As long as he can stay on the field for a couple of years. But I don't think it's going to do anything to Judge's cards.
Do you think him being 31 is a factor, though? Because Rizzo's going to hit that 300 home run club, Anthony Rizzo, and he's 34. And Andrew McCutchen is going to hit that 300 home run club, and he's 37. So Judge is definitely younger than those two other players. You know what I mean? Like, the faster you hit it.
Me and Beggar have been saying McCutchen might just hit that last one and retire on the
spot. Walk it off. Right. Come across the plate and hang up the jersey right there.
He's the equivalent of Ovechkin in hockey. Once he passes Wayne Gretzky, he's going to take off his skates and leave. Yeah.
So is Vogelbach.
I agree with Beggar, though. I don't think 300 is that big of a number anymore.
True.
But again, I mean, would you say it was 43 until he breaks it?
Yep.
So if he goes 50 plus, I think it's going to add value to him. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think the single season home run is more 100%. Important for him. And then, like, Judge is still behind. Remember, he was a late bloomer, and he still has some catch up to do. But I mean, at the pace he's going, like he's gonna hit some homers. He's gonna hit the 500 marker if he stays healthy. But I think even though he's 31 years old, I think he's still behind in terms of where kind of like that trajectory of the Hank Aaron's and the Albert Pujols is. Like he's gonna have to do some serious damage in the next 10 years to try to even have that conversation. So 300 still a long ways away from that. A lot can happen. So yeah, I'm gonna say no as well.
Okay, let's move on to the next guy, Mike Trout. He's 30. Well, he hit a home run today, so he's 31 home runs now from the 400 home run club. Does that make a difference?
For me, I think it's the similar situation. I actually just pulled his baseball reference page up too. He's 32, so he's a year older than Judge, I guess. But it's, again, same thing, 400. Like, it's not there for me yet. It's
500 is the marker.
It's big. Yeah, it's got to be 500. And again, like you put up those single season marks. Like if Trout wins the home run title this year or something like that, or hits 50 this year, because I don't know if he's ever hit 50. I don't think he has.
No.
Those will be, I think, more the markers than 400 will be.
Good point. All right. I got some more stats, and I know this episode's running long, so I do want to talk about this. Clayton Kershaw, he's 56 strikeouts away from reaching 3,000 career strikeouts. Is that a good number in terms of his accomplishment and everything he's done?
Cards to the moon, double. I mean, they're gonna massive inflation. It's the way it should be. I'm gonna like inflate all the prices. You're gonna see some new eBay comps at historical pricing. Yeah. Now 3,000 is the barrier.
Yeah.
And people see it. You're starting to do the foreshadowing. He's a Hall of Famer, so you start to buy in now. I mean, if you're smart, you buy now before 3,000, especially because he's injured. He's not playing. He's, off everybody's radar. Pick him up now. You're going to get the boost when he comes back, probably a little bit. Boost at 3,000, and then I don't think his career is that much longer, and then it's going to be Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would agree.
Great.
I think he just holds so much longevity too. I mean, when you think about at least like last 20 years, of best pitchers, he's like one that comes to mind right away, and he's done it for so long, right? So. Again, I think it helps a ton, but I think even just past that, I think he's a great hold because, longevity of his cards. I think his prices will stay decent for a while.
Yep.
Yeah, I think Kershaw is he's always been a buy on my radar just because he's probably one of the best modern day pitchers in our era that we've seen, at least consistency and WAR wise in terms of the impact he's had on his team. The thing is, obviously he's not throwing 200 innings every year like he used to. So that's a big factor. It's going to take a little longer. But at the end of the day, I think he's done enough in his career where, he's Hall of Fame bound. And I think between him and Verlander and all these underrated, pitchers that's been around that, are Hall of Fame, right there in the Hall of Fame ballots. I think they're all good plays from the hobby standpoint.
Scherzer's the other one. Yes.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And Garrett Cole, obviously, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're all on the same page here. I'll just say this. Clayton Kershaw is the only pitcher on my eBay watch list. He's the only guy I want right now. So, and I want...
Not the Chris Begg Bowman first?
You can get those. Actually, I mean... They're undervalued.
Actually, I do want one of those for sure.
Yeah, we got to get one of those.
To autograph it. Yeah, let's do a group buy.
We'll pick up a box of 2007. We'll see if we can pack pull one. I think they're pretty cheap.
I think that'll be fun.
Actually, it might be in the same. Is it? It might even be in the same set as Kershaw. We can pretend that we're going for Kershaw's, but we're not.
No, we're going for Begg.
The box is going to be that much more expensive now. If Chris Begg is in it, who cares about Kershaw?
You had it right.
So I'm going to just name these stats. We don't have to talk about it. It's interesting for me to hear. So Corbin Burns, he's 130 Ks away from 1,000 career strikeouts. Spencer Strider, 17 Ks away from 500 career strikeouts. And this was a funny one. Juan Soto, if he walks 29 more times, he'll have the record for most walks by a player under 26 years old.
Wow, crazy. So
he's definitely got a good eye. All right. That was a fun segment. Hobby headlines. We talked about a lot there, and we're just excited about the 2024 season. All right, let's move on to hobby hot takes. All right, we used to do this in season 1, right? When we did a hot take every other week, and we haven't done this in a while. We just kind of stuck to our regular pick one, but I wanted to bring this up because I wanted to throw out a couple to the group here, and I know some of you might have a hot take of your own, so we'll hear it and then we'll just react to it. All right, so the first one I kind of hinted at the start of the show. Wyatt Langford, I think, is going to be a bust this season. I don't think it's going to be a bust in the career, but I think it's going to be a bust this season. And his cards are probably going to drop about 50% in value. And the reason why I say this is that the Texas Rangers are a strong team still, right? Defending world champions. I think they have just as good a shot to repeat. And for that reason, I don't think they need to rush Langford into the lineup. You know, they could use him whenever they want, however they feel is necessary, because they have such a strong lineup already. So I think he's going to have limited at-bats. He's going to struggle because it is first season. I expect that from him. And anyone that, has a Wyatt Langford first Bowman Chrome Auto right now, it's probably a good time to sell now and then pick him up later. What do you guys think of that first initial hot take?
I think it's bold. I saw a hot take on social media last night that it was Wyatt Langford actually hits 45 plus home runs. So kind of an opposite of what you were saying.
Okay,
that is a super hot take.
That's a hotter
only player 123 to ever do it. So that's a very hot take. But
I like that hot take better. I like that one better actually. Yeah.
We'll see.
I have a. Right.
Go ahead.
I don't have to say it now, but that hot take aligns with kind of one that I was thinking of.
No.
Perfect.
Perfect.
Okay, well, if you want me to do it, then it's like one of them is neither rookie of the year will start the year or has started the year in the big leagues. So Wyatt Langford was one of the guys. On the other side, my rookie of the year favorite was Jackson Chourio. So I'm saying it's possible that neither one starts the year in the big league. So in the AL side, we talked about Jackson Holiday, right? He's got to be up there. But you got guys like Jason Dominguez is going to come back partway through the season, right? Ricky Tiedemann's one with the Jays that I think he's going to be up in the big leagues sooner rather than later. We mentioned Junior Caminero, right? And on the no kidding. Yeah. And on the NL side, we talked about Paul Skeens. If he comes up early and dominates, then there's other studs like James Wood and Dylan Cruz with Nationals. Pete Crow Armstrong, I'm really high on that with the Cubs.
PCA, yeah.
None of them are starting in the big leagues. So if they come up, is there a chance that neither rookie of the year we are seeing on a big league field right now?
I like that.
Yeah, it's good.
I think that's very possible, actually.
I think that's possible. Yeah, I think
100%.
it's because there's so many studs, and they have that bonus of calling up younger players. There's more incentives for that. So I think MLB wants that in general. And realistically, I think there's so many prospects that can make an impact. Like you said, James Wood, he was one of my guys that I'm like, how can you not like that? This guy's like O'Neal Cruz and Ellie De La Cruz put together, and he's stronger than both of them, but just as big, right? Like it's nuts. The type of talent that's in the minor leagues right now, which is exciting. So I think that could realistically happen, is like the rookie of the year comes from a AAA player currently or a AA player currently right now.
Sure. Yeah, I like that one. All right, I got one more. So forget J-Rod, forget Acuna, forget Soto. Next face of the league, and Shohei's got his own issues right now, right? So the next face of the league is going to be Bobby Witt Jr. I think he's going to be going to have a monster season. I think he's just in the shadows of some of these guys that I just mentioned. And if you look at his cards, and I'm looking to pick one up, hopefully soon, but if you look at his first Bowman Chrome Autos, PSA 10, it's going for $825 right now. And I'm talking about base, first Bowman Chrome Auto. $825 versus J-Rod, which is going for $1,250, versus Acuna and Soto, which are going for $2,400. Both going for $2,400. So I think the value is there and Bobby Witt Jr., if you look at his projections, if you're into fantasy, looks like he could do a 30-40 season, right? Compared to J-Rod's 30-30. And of course, Acuna is all about staying healthy, right? And Bobby Witt Jr.
I could see it. I don't think with the Royals being, it's probably sub 500 team. That's the one knock. If they they do better, I can for sure see that.
Good point.
He's the guy that almost brings the Royals back to relevance, right? And he signed a huge contract, which I love. Like, I'm with you, Clark. I'm a huge Bobby Witt Jr. fan. He is another guy that's on the MVP watch list. I think he he could do it. The only thing is kind of what I said, same thing about Cy Young, is like it's tough to win MVP or one of those big awards on a losing team, right? And the Royals are going to lose. They're not there yet. But I love Bobby Witt Jr. And yeah, he's everything the Major League Baseball wants a player to be. So yeah, he could easily fill in there as the face of them.
And he's a collector too.
Yeah, big collector.
Love it.
Yeah, Witt Jr. for me, he's a stud, but I just don't think he's going to hit enough. I just don't think he's going to hit that 300. He's a 260 to 280 hitter. And I would just say one step below Julio Rodriguez, that type of player. Like he's not that superstar that Julio is. Well, he is a superstar, don't get me wrong, but like we're talking fine line, a superstar to like that second tier superstar type player. And that's where I would categorize Bobby Witt, kind of like if he hits, 30 plus, steals 30 plus bags, hits like 290, 300. Yeah, I think now we're talking in terms of, okay, he might be in that same category, but yeah, I just don't think he's going to hit enough to be in that category unless he hits like 300 plus, which he hasn't in his career.
Mm-hmm. Right. Fair enough. These are hot takes. All right. Anyone else have any more?
Yep. I got one.
Okay. Yeah.
I love this one too. Ronald Acuna is the first ever player to go 50-50 in a season.
Oh, because he's a 40-70.
40-70,
right?
no 50-50s.
Okay.
I remember when I played, I remember hearing that Matt Kemp thought that he could do a 50-50 season. And then I think he got hurt, actually.
There you go.
I think I like it. I do like it because I think that's kind of like a milestone that a guy like Acuna will strive for. So it's like, okay, I've done the 40-70. If I do 40-70 again, it's like, okay, great. And yeah, you're going to help your team win and everything. But it's like, if I maybe don't run as much or whatever it is and just focus on power, I can steal 50 bags in my sleep. But if I can get how many home runs he hit last year? Was it 41 or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if he hits, to say 10ish more home runs, then he can break another barrier. I mean, all those things just add to a guy's legacy. I mean, this guy is unbelievable, right? So yeah, it's possible.
Let's
not say probable, but very possible.
If there's a guy that's going to do it, it's Acuna. But
yeah, I agree.
The 50 is tough. Just based on, Matt Olson hit 50, 54 last year or whatever. Marcell Ozuna hit 41 or 40 something. Acuna hit 4. Like that whole Braves team. So it's like, how many home runs can they collectively hit? Like 50 is like 10 more. It's like so ridiculous, right? So if there's a guy that's going to do it, it's definitely Acuna. I don't think he can get to that 50 marker. I just don't think that's his gameplay. He's not that Matt Olson type where his fly balls are leaving, if he mishits it, right? So like 50 home runs is like hot take, yeah.
Hot take.
For sure. But if there's somebody, it's Acuna.
Agreed.
It's
not
a
much
good
more to
one,
add.
though.
I think I like that too, yeah. I think I saw one of his quotes recently where he's all in on trying to help the Braves win the World Series. That's his number one goal.
Love that.
So I can't see him being like selfish, like, I'm going to go for the 50 home run record. He'll do whatever he can. If he needs to steal 80 bases, he'll probably do that first before going for like individual records. But yeah, I like that one. All right.
Do you want another one or what?
Yeah, one last one. Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. And this is one that both Young and Willow have a connection with, a name that has not been brought up this podcast yet.
Okay.
Tristan Casas will win the Silver Slugger Award for first baseman in the AL.
Let me take a look at Tristan Casas
Okay,
here.
so I'll give you. He had a really, really good second half. Okay, first base in the AL is weaker, way weaker than the National League. You're looking at guys obviously like Vladdy, Spencer Torkelson, Yandy Diaz, and Josh Naylor. Those are kind of your next or your big four, and Casas. So Vladdy's probably Yandy. Yandy's. I think he won it last year, didn't he? Yandy won the Silver Slugger. So those are your guys, Tristan Casas.
I could see it. I mean, me and Bagger talk about it all the time, but in 2017 at the World Championships that I played in, and Young and Bagger coached me when we played Team USA there, who was just a stacked lineup.
He killed us.
Yeah, but he was by far the best hitter.
Yeah,
and like
in
that
the tournament.
In the tournament, yeah, a lot of talent there. So, kind of seeing it firsthand, like, and I remember watching him, like, playing against him. I was just like, kind of like, I was just like, this guy can hit, right? Mm-hmm. So again, crazy hot second half last year. I could see it, man. I really could. So I don't think that's that hot of a take, actually, Bagger.
See, that was the other side. It's like, is it that hot of a take? But I think everybody's so high on Vladdy, and then Yandy won it last year, right? So it's like, you got to beat those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see him hitting 30 plus. He's a 30 plus home run guy. He's not good. I don't think he has a stick to hit like 280, 300, but like he definitely has the power to be that guy for sure. Absolutely. I don't think it's too much. I think he's such a good hitter in general that he's gonna run into it. And the guys you mentioned, I think realistically, yeah, he's right in the mix already, even from last year, right? So, but yeah, Vladdy's obviously, Vladdy. So yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, it's a good one to end off on because it is like, I want to bring up a hobby point here because Tristan Casas, he was a chase 4 years ago. Like when he came on the 2018 Bowman, he was one of those guys, like if you pulled him, you're ecstatic because he had value right off the bat. But he is one of those guys now with a lot of, guys that are 24, 25. And John's talked about it on our show, the 3-4 year lull. Where if you haven't established yourself as this like superstar rookie by year 2, people just forget about you. Like the collectors just forget about you. And, and then you got to reinvent yourself or you got to hit these amazing individual markers. So he's one of those guys, like even if he wins the Silver Slug, like he's got to do a lot more. And I just looked up his PSA 10 first Bowman Chromato. It's selling for under 200 right now. But, back in 2018, 2019, it was triple that, right off the bat. So one of those guys, and it's just a point that prospecting is really tough in baseball. And it's a lot of these guys are teenagers when they're called up, and it's almost like hitting the lottery in a lot of ways in terms of like knowing which ones to collect. All right, I like that segment, Hobby Hot Takes. We should bring it back for future episodes. I think it was just hard to come up with really, really good hot takes week after week, and that's probably why we stopped. But anyway, let's finish off this show with our regular weekly segment we call Pick One. And usually Hyung goes first, and then I go right after, and John finishes up. But since we have Beggar and Willow, we decided that they would choose the pick ones, and we would just chime in to see which 2 of their cards they choose we would rather invest in. So Beggar, do you want to start things off for us?
Sure, I can. I mean, mine is a pick one between 3 cards. Is that doable? And it'll make sense. It'll make sense. Pitchers? No, oddly enough, it'll make sense to you though when I do it. Okay. Because these guys are tied together in the collecting hobby, I do believe, and so we're gonna turn back the clock. Obviously, we're going 2001. Topps Chrome traded Ichiro. Topps Chrome traded Pujols. And the Topps Chrome traded with both of them on it. The dual card there.
Yeah, the dual card.
Okay, so I'll give you the prices for Ichiro. The last 3 sales were between $2,500 and $2,800. Okay, and the pop is $327 on PSA 10. These are PSA 10s. I even did graded for you guys. For you.
Okay.
So $2,500 to $2,800. The Pujols with pop of 441, so about another 120, is $1,600 to $1,800. And the dual card, which has a pop of less than both of those at 230, is $2,300 to $2,400. Those are the last 2 sales. There were only 2, kind of recent.
Mm-hmm. Oh, sorry, what did the last one go for? The dual?
23 to $2,400. So Pujols is $1,600 to $1,800. The dual is $2,300 to $2,400, and the Ichiro is $2,500 to $2,800. So that's least to most.
I'll go. I think I'm going to go with Pujols. Like, I think Price is right. I think Pujols, 700 plus home runs. Like, that's 4 people, right? Or something like that, 3 or 4. So for me, it's for the price, half the price as Ichiro. I'm going to go with Albert Pujols. That's a nice, it is like, I like that card. Like, that card's a sick card, especially, the Chrome version, which that's the Chrome, or is it?
Yeah, this is the Chrome.
Yeah, that's a sick card.
I'll tell you what, side note, I bought this one like in the Toronto, like the sports card show in like 2001, before it was in Beckett. Yeah, we're going back to Beckett. Before it was in Beckett, I bought this for like $2, and I bought the base one for like $1.
That's a great buy.
It's not a bad buy.
That's a great buy. Well done.
Nice. Willow, you want to go?
I would, for value, I would go with Pujols. If it was going to be PC, I'd probably go for the duel. I just think that's such a, pretty cool, unique, iconic card there. So a little torn, but for value, I'd go for Pujols. And then if it was PC, I'd for sure go for the duel.
I'll go for Ichiro. I just think that's one of his recognizable rookie cards, right? And for me, when I think of Pujols, his best rookie card's obviously going to be his Bowman Chrome auto, right? But and if you look at it in the right light, it's kind of a color match for Ichiro. So I don't know if it's faded, but it's kind of a color match. I'm a sucker
green.
for color.
Yeah.
I'm a sucker for color match-ish cards. So, despite the higher price, I'm going to go for Ichiro. And the pop is right there at $330. That's not too bad. I'm not a huge fan of dual cards, though. Ichiro Pujols, obviously, we joke with the problem with dual cards. You never know if the one of those players is going to tank. Obviously, they're both Hall of Famers, so you don't have to worry about that. But just generally speaking, I'm not a big fan of dual.
See, I'm more of an
cards.
optimist, I think, Clark, because I wish they brought more of those back, because I used to love it back in like 1990 when you'd get like 4 guys on a card and you're like, man, if one of these guys hits, this card is like money. This is awesome. Right? Kevin Moss, let's go Kevin Moss. I think he was on a card with Derek May or something like that. Neither of them hit. In Fleer, 90 Fleer. All right, I'll say I like the dual card only because in a couple of years you're gonna have 2 Hall of Famers on the one card. I really do like it, but in saying that, I was with Willow for value wise. That Pujols, I mean, it seems like a steal compared to the other ones, right? They're all legendary players. They're both first ballot Hall of Famers. Like maybe unanimous, maybe both of them. There's a possibility. Maybe that should be your hot take. But yeah, I'd love that Pujols one to go with this dual one.
Good one. I like it. All right, Willow.
Okay, here we go. And before you got to give the guys on this podcast, the regular hosts, some credit, because I listen to it all the time, and I told these guys before we got on that you're listening to these pick ones, and you're like, this must be easy to pick 2 cards to put up against each other. And then when you're in the hot seat and you got to actually do it, probably took me an hour and a half today to find it. I was all over.
Yes, the struggle is real,
it was
guys.
A lot of work. It really is.
We've done 200 of them.
I know that blew my mind too. You get some of
funny.
your tips, but I got 2 young shortstops. And it's funny because I always hear you guys talk about the podcast of how the value in Bowman for baseball versus Topps. So this will be an interesting one. So first card, PSA 10, Gunnar Henderson, 2023 Topps Chrome Blue Refractor Rookie Auto. So out of 150. Last sold for $875, March 21st. Pop 32. Second card, PSA 10, Anthony Volpe, 2020 Bowman Chrome First Auto Refractor out of $499. Last sold for just over 1,000 last week as well. Pop 110. So,
all right. Sorry, the Gunner pop was
32, a lot lower.
Oh, okay.
Ooh.
I love these sounds.
Topps
this makes my
Bowman.
hour and a half today feel like I put some solid effort.
No, this is a good one. Good one too.
All right, I think I can go.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with the player that I believe in more, and that's going to be Gunnar. I'm not totally in on Volpe, and regardless of if the card is better or Bowman or Topps or whatever, if the player isn't, as good, the card's not going to be as valuable. So tell me that the pop count is lower and it's cheaper. I'm going with Gunnar.
I like it. I can go next. I just, it took me a while because I had to go through my checklist, so like.
Non-pitcher. Yeah. Okay. Check.
Yeah. Non-pitchers, both bonuses right there. +1. So Gunnar, Volpe, I'm like Beggar. I like Gunnar better in terms of potential. So that's +1 for Gunnar. Topps Chrome, Bowman Chrome. I'm going to go for Bowman Chrome, obviously. That's, the set I'm going for. So it's tied there. But then it's blue refractor versus regular refractor, right? I love blue refractor. And then obviously the blue refractor is numbered to 150. Regular refractor is 499. So the blue refractor, lower pop, lower serial number. Yeah, so Gunnar kind of runs away with it at that point, despite being a Topps Chrome versus a Bowman Chrome. Yeah. So Gunnar for me as well.
So true story. I was ripping 2020 Bowman like a champ in 2020, trying to chase Bobby Witt and Jason Dominguez. And in my common cards, before Volpe was a thing, I had a Volpe refractor out of 499 Bowman Chrome that was in just a top loader, just kind of like in the common cards. Long story short, I send it off to grading, dual auto. I get a PSA 1010 on it. Wow. I sell for $3,300 US. I think I might have sold at the peak on that specific card, and it was a common card that I pulled. But yeah, I sold it for $3,300. To say that card's $1,000 now, that's crazy. But which is expected. Like, I mean, but I maybe it's still high, right? Because Volpe hasn't really proved himself in the big leagues. I think he's going to be fine. I think he's going to be a great player. What concerns me is if he doesn't get that batting average up, because I think the power is going to lack. He's going to still hit 20 to 30 home runs, I think, but if he's hitting 250, 20 to 30 home runs, I don't think his prices are going to sustain themselves. On the other side, Gunnar Henderson, he could hit 30 to 40 every year. I don't think Gunnar's a 280 to 300 hitter either. So I wouldn't buy both either, to be honest. But if I'm buying right now, it would probably be the blue refractor, just because I think Volpe has to do a lot of things for his prices to go to where it used to be. So I don't see it going there, especially this year, unless he goes off. Which is he batting in the 9 hole? Like I don't know if he's gonna get that chance.
Yeah, 7
in 7 hole. Yeah, that's not gonna probably cut it. So yeah, I'm gonna go Gunnar Henderson for that, and the fact that I sold it for at peak. That I can't rebuy it.
I probably would have done the same.
Yeah,
I do that. Volpe, again with Gunnar. I think he's just more. He's already there. I think Volpe is gonna have a turnaround year for sure. I think he's gonna have a better year after that kind of rookie year lull that he had. But yeah, it was a tough one. But you guys picked the tops. Surprised me.
Yeah, it's surprising. Yeah.
Yep. I like that one though. That's great. Yeah, you guys did tough, well for your pick ones. Well, this is a marathon of an episode.
Put some time into it, so
we appreciate the hard work you put into it. That's always appreciated. But yeah, thanks Chris Begg and thanks Jason Willow for joining us on the pod. If you haven't subscribed to their pod, the Apple Taco Podcast, you need to, because baseball season started. They're going to have a lot to say throughout the season. They've already had a ton of great guests that are in the baseball world. So definitely, if you're a baseball fan, go subscribe to the Apple Taco Podcast. And you know what? We got to do this again. I know it's a long episode, but let's do it again during the All-Star break. I think that's a good point to reconvene and talk about all our picks that we made right, and all the picks that we totally screwed up on.
Or totally wrong on. That's what I was going to say.
Can't wait to see the Tigers top the AL Central All-Star break. Can't wait.
I'll buy a Tigers jersey if that happens. Okay.
Done.
Let's make it interesting.
All right, pitcher jersey.
Scooble. All right. As always, thanks to all the listeners who come in every week to hear us talk about baseball cards, sports cards, and we'll have a brand new episode for you guys next week. Talk to you then. Bye. Hey, thanks for listening to Cards to the Moon. We'd really appreciate you subscribing to our podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts. And you can also connect with each of us on Instagram at 5cardguys, or you can follow Hyung at Integrity Sports Cards, or John at TradeU at Recess. You can also check us out at 5cardguys.com. Thanks again, and hope to connect soon.